All right, let's talk about something really important. The story you tell yourself when no one else is around. And no, this isn't about vanity or just, being confident. This is about your self-image. That deep down internal narrative that basically runs the show. It dictates how you see the world and, more importantly, where you fit into it all.
You really got to get this. Self-image is so much deeper than just your reflection in a mirror. It's not about what you see, it's about what you believe. Think of it like a script, right? It's the script you pull out to explain away your failures or to make sense of your successes. And ultimately, that story can either be the thing that sets you free or the thing that keeps you locked up.
Okay, so first things first, where does this inner narrative even come from? Well, for a lot of us, the source is something we know all too well, the inner critic. That relentless, nagging voice inside our heads that's constantly shaping how we see ourselves. And look, this inner critic, it doesn't just talk, it torments. It puts you under this constant pressure, just drains your energy, and makes tiny little challenges feel like you're trying to climb Mount Everest. It's that voice whispering, "You're falling behind," or "Ugh, you should have known better." And the scary part is, if you listen to that voice for long enough, it starts to change your reality. Kind of like how water carves stone, slowly, silently, with a massive impact.
And believe me, this isn't just some abstract idea we're talking about. It has real, painful consequences. You can see it so clearly in something Selena Gomez shared. She was watching footage from her 2016 tour, and looking back at how she was feeling then, she just said, "I just hate that I ever felt those feelings." I mean, wow. It's just this gut-wrenchingly honest look at the kind of toll this internal battle can really take on a person.
So you might be wondering, where does this inner critic get its lines from? Well, a lot of the time, that harsh voice, it isn't even originally ours. It's more like an echo of the world around us. It gets shaped by all these external pressures, from society, from our past, and yeah, especially from our screens.
And this right here, this is a huge problem in our modern world. We are constantly comparing our messy, real, unedited lives, our behind the scenes, to everyone else's perfectly curated highlight reels. And with every single scroll, we're basically running the risk of rewiring our own brains to believe that our life, our progress, just isn't good enough.
This is exactly what Selena Gomez went through. Starting from a really young age, she felt completely trapped by that whole Disney kid label. She thought she had to project this perfect image just for anyone to take her seriously. And that kind of constant pressure to perform, to meet everyone else's expectations, it doesn't just wear you out. It can actually make you forget who you are underneath it all. Okay, so that's the problem. How do we start to fix it? How do we repair all this damage? Well, the journey back to our real selves starts with a practice that, honestly, feels kind of radical in a world that's all about self-criticism. The very first pillar of healing is this thing called self-compassion. Now, self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or making excuses. Not at all. It's really just about understanding that being imperfect is, well, part of being human. And there's actual science to this. When you criticize yourself, you're lighting up your brain's threat system, that whole fight or flight thing. But self-compassion, it does the exact opposite. It activates your care system. It calms you down. It lets you hold yourself accountable without absolutely tearing yourself to shreds. And that's why all the research shows it builds resilience. People can bounce back from failure way faster because a mistake doesn't destroy their confidence at its core. And Selena Gomez, she put this into practice in such a powerful way with her bipolar diagnosis. Instead of seeing it as some enemy she had to fight every day, she totally reframed it. She said, "I just have made it my friend." Think about that. That is a huge act of self-compassion. It's about accepting a part of herself, learning its patterns,
and making the choice to work with it, not against it. That's a massive shift from torment to true understanding. So, okay, how can you actually do this every day? Here's a super simple technique to start reprogramming that inner voice. The next time you mess up, and before that inner critic can even get a word in, just pause. That one little action interrupts the whole automatic negative spiral. Then take a breath. And no, that's not just some feel-good cliche, it actually helps regulate your nervous system. And finally, ask yourself a simple question. What would I say to my best friend if they were in this exact situation? Then just say that to yourself. When you start consciously giving yourself that same kindness, that's when you start turning your inner critic into your biggest ally.
All right, so self-compassion is the first pillar. It's foundational. But to build something that's truly resilient, you need a second pillar to hold things up. So if compassion is what softens the heart, then the second pillar, integrity, that's what strengthens the spine.
And integrity is pretty straightforward. It just means your actions line up with your values. It's that quiet strength that really keeps you grounded. And this is so important for your self-image because, well, when your actions don't match what you believe in, it creates this really uncomfortable feeling inside. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. It's that internal conflict that just eats away at your self-respect and makes even your biggest wins feel kind of empty. Integrity is what rebuilds that respect from the inside out.
So you've got these two big ideas, self-compassion and integrity. And they're not opposites at all. They're actually partners. They work together to build real self-respect. I mean, think about it, right? Self-compassion without integrity, that can just turn into making excuses and never growing. But integrity without self-compassion, that becomes this super harsh, rigid self-judgment. It's when you put them together that you get this flexible strength. You get the ability to be both kind and totally honest with yourself.
Selena is a perfect example of this in action. Whenever she's faced with some public narrative or a negative story about her, she makes a very conscious choice. She doesn't get defensive. Instead, she just interrupts them with her truth. Her core value is love, so she consistently decides to fight all that negativity with love and kindness. That consistency, that is integrity in action.
And her integrity isn't just about words. It's about real, tangible action. See, it wasn't enough for Selena to just talk about mental health. She put her money where her mouth is. She lined her whole business, Rare Beauty, with her values and pledged to raise $100 million for mental health services. This is what it looks like when your outer world finally lines up with her inner truth. It creates this amazing sense of wholeness that builds an absolutely unshakable self-respect.
So what's the payoff? What happens when you actually combine the softness of self-compassion with the strength of integrity? Well, the result is, it's profound. You stop performing for everyone else, and you finally start living for yourself. You begin to live an authentic life. And it's so important to get this. This whole journey isn't about trying to become some brand new person, not at all. It's really about having the courage to come back home to who you've always been. It means you can acknowledge your fears, but you don't let them run your life. And it's about finally understanding that your worth was never, ever tied to being perfect or getting everyone else's approval in the first place.
Selena just actively throws that whole illusion of perfection out the window. She really wants people to see her as a human being, not some polished, untouchable star. And when she says things like this, she's basically giving all of us permission to be imperfect too. She wants to be someone you can actually connect with, you know, to get rid of that whole celebrity thing and just have a real conversation, human to human. And that's the big shift, right there. You move from a life that's all about performance, you know, chasing likes, chasing approval, trying to meet these impossible standards, to a life of genuine purpose, where what you do is guided by what you actually believe in.
It's about finally getting that your story is still being written, and that healing isn't some destination you arrive at. It's a continuous journey, a practice.
When you boil it all down, the single most empowering thing to take away from all of this is that you are in the driver's seat. You have agency. That silent story in your head, it does not have to be a life sentence. But here's the catch. If you're not actively working to change it, you are passively choosing to keep it. This quote is a huge call to action. You, right now, have the power to consciously choose and write a new story for yourself.
So we want to leave you with this final thought. Your self-image, it's not some fixed portrait that just hangs on a wall forever. It's a living, breathing process. It's a journey of becoming, and it changes every single time you choose courage instead of comparison, every time you choose integrity instead of just imitating someone else, and every time you choose compassion over criticism. So the real question isn't who are you? The real question is who are you choosing to become?